Welcome to the Smart Connected podcast. It's great to see you again. So we're here today with Marc W. Halpert. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you, Jane. Nice to be here with you.
So Marc's a seasoned entrepreneur who recently sold one of his businesses and decided to focus on his passion for coaching professionals to express why they do what they do. And he's an expert on LinkedIn, and he's recently been awarded 2 of their prestigious Top Voice badges for entrepreneurship and training. And he's also an author of 2 books on LinkedIn marketing, and you can find them on Amazon. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is how to go from being overlooked and undervalued as an entrepreneur to stepping into your power and becoming the go-to choice of your sector's best prospects. So what a fantastic conversation we're going to have. As I said, this is something that I'm also super passionate about. So really looking forward to it.
Great.
Okay, so before we get into it, Marc, I'm sure that our viewers and listeners are just going to be a little bit intrigued to know about this business that you sold. So just tell us briefly about that before we get into the power of LinkedIn and how to really build your business through it.
Well, I'll loop them both together just to keep all things out in the open here.
Okay.
I started out 23 years ago on my own, out of corporate America, to become an entrepreneur and to sell electronic payment services. 23 years ago, electronic payment services were the Wild West. It was crazy out there. The technology was awful. It was unreliable. And it was just blooming. And it was a great time to ride the crest of this. I got to the point where just last year, somebody approached me, wanted to buy my portfolio. It made sense to me based upon demographics, based upon my sense of the market, where the industry was going. I decided, sure, why not? And that'll give me all this great opportunity to take all the energy I have and put it completely into my LinkedIn profile consulting. And that's what I love to do, so that I can help people just go one step or more beyond what they're able to do for themselves. That's a coach. That's what a coach will do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And it's wonderful to have that sense of freedom. I mean, I myself have been through the process of selling a business, and it is truly transformational in that it really does allow you to discover yourself and stop chasing the dollar, doesn't it?
Well, it was chasing the client, and that got to be harder and harder because people were slicing and dicing percentage rates for credit card processing into the hundreds of thousands of percent. It's too much.
Yeah.
And they would leave me for a few bucks saved a month and come back to me and say, oh my God, I can't believe I actually left you. These people I went to, they promised me all this stuff and they never delivered. And then they come begging back. You know what? I get tired of it after a while. So I decided, look, let's do where I can make the most value for people. And that's the psychic value that they get from knowing that they've expressed themselves on LinkedIn in the very best way they can, not by copying and pasting their resume to LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we are going to get into this because that's obviously the topic and the theme of our conversation together. So, okay. So when we were putting together the description beforehand, we talked about expressing your value and about stepping into your value and also expressing your purpose, really. So, do you think this is about people being clearer really about what they do? Because sometimes people are not always very clear to themselves, let alone others, right?
Well, people have to be clear with themselves to start. I have a quote in front of me, which I love to invoke all the time. It's from a 20th century psychologist named William James, American. And he said, the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. So it just spoke to me when I saw it for the first time. And it says to me that as entrepreneurs, we are dying to be heard because we have our own special sauce on everything we do. And all I want people to do is taste that special sauce and get used to a whole new way of doing whatever we do.
Yes.
So where do we say that? We can't rely upon other people to say it for us because they'll never say it as well as we can.
True. So true.
So we have to look within ourselves, and we have to be honest with ourselves and establish the rules that we want to be understood by. And no
Mm.
one gets to say it but you. So when somebody doesn't do a good job on their LinkedIn profile, they've shot themselves in the foot. They've given themselves no opportunity for somebody to call what I like in love with them, but they don't get to love until they like you. So when they read your profile and they fall in like with you enough to say, I need to contact that person, the rest is up to you. But they have to want to like you. And if you're not
Yeah.
like to yourself or to them, you go nowhere and they go on and they leave you and you'll never know who left you. Because LinkedIn doesn't tell you who looked at your profile and how long they sat there and watched you, read you.
That's absolutely true. So, okay, let's get into it. So, liking somebody, so coming across their profile and liking them, how do you get liked by the right people just from your LinkedIn profile?
Well, there have been a lot of studies done a while ago, and they still probably are correct. We believe them to be correct. People look at your banner first. Do you have a banner? Or do you use the boilerplate green bars that LinkedIn leaves you, which tells nothing about anything? And some of the smartest people I've ever worked with said, I don't know what to put there, so I just leave it blank. Let LinkedIn do it for me. Well, that's a mistake. Okay. Okay. Then you look at they look at your headshot. Does it look like this was taken when you were 22 if you're 55? Does it look like you post-pandemically when it was taken pre-pandemically? How are they going to recognize you? Do you look approachable? Do you look nice? People want to buy with their eyes and their mind, their heart and their mind. Then they read your headline. If it says SVP at XYZ Corporation, so what does that tell you? Now you get lots more space to tell where you help people do whatever you help them do. One more point I want to make, and if you
Yep.
get that far, they might even read your about section, which is your elevator pitch. And you better be really good there. And then they stop reading. Make a decision quickly, because we all decide immediately, because we're consumers at the end of the day. Do I want this product service? Do I not want this product service? That's your chance. It's really visual. It's really fast. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good. So I've got some questions for you about all of those different aspects, because as you said, those are the immediate things that people will notice when they land on your profile. So let's start off with the banner, right? So do you think it's good just to have an arresting image, or do you think you ought to have something about what you do, or some text in the banner that gives a flavor for your business, or maybe the transformation that you can create? If somebody came to you and said, well, should I just have a really inspirational photograph, maybe something really exciting, like somebody surfing or some incredible landscape or something like that, or should I have something that is more, let's just say, directly related to what I do? What would you say to them?
I would say it's the latter. Show me what you do.
Mm,
Show me you in action. I just
okay.
recently, last week, changed my banner. Hadn't been changed in a couple of years. I really simplified it. I made it show the three aspects of what I do, and I use only 3 words.
Mm,
I did not put the landscape of New York City there. Anybody can do that. It inspires me when I see it, but it's not going to inspire somebody to want to use me to be their LinkedIn coach. It doesn't
yeah.
tell them anything, except we have big buildings in New York or in
Yeah.
London. I've seen every city in the world through my profile, through other people's profiles. So show me you in action. Show me brief scenarios of what you do, and so I'll understand, do I want to read more? Do I want to spend time here? I'm in the wrong place.
Yep. Okay, well, that's really good. Okay, so now let's move to the profile picture. Obviously, as you pointed out, it's nice to really look smiley. Yeah, so it's good to have a friendly, smiley, welcoming face, right? Everybody knows that. What about the background, though? Would it be better to have one of those bright, colorful backgrounds? I mean, I've got one of those. I've got a purple background. Or is it better to have some kind of interesting I don't know, some interesting cityscape or something like that. What does the background matter or not?
The background matters. It doesn't matter as much as the foreground. I want to see your face from here to here. I don't want to see you standing up in front of a garden. I mean, I've got a friend I keep saying, I can't see your face. Why am I looking at you? I'm talking to your eyes. I'm not talking to, all 5'7" of you.
Yeah.
I just recently also changed my headshot after the pandemic. I needed to because I looked different as a result. I used the cityscape behind me. You can sort of see 7th Avenue and between 27th and 28th Street in Manhattan. That's where my photographer was. He goes, let's take this out of the studio. Let's get on the street. Let's make it real. Because if you have looking like storm clouds coming behind you, like you're about to get killed by a tornado, that's what we did in elementary school, I mean, in grade school. Let's use the background to give a feel, but let's make the foreground what you're buying.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. That's great advice. So basically, if you're going to have some kind of a background, make it an interesting background. Don't just make it a picture of your street, unless, of course, you live in Beverly Hills or or somewhere where people go, wow. Okay, fine. All right, great. So let's now get on to the headline, because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with. Should you talk about the transformation, the golden outcome? Should you talk about how you help people, or should you talk about something else? What is the ideal headline look like? Because people ask me, and I find it difficult sometimes to give them a really concise answer, and I'm sure that you can.
The bonus word in your headline is help. I help people do. I help professionals with. If you're not there to help them, they're not buying from you. Yeah. If you tell them all about why I'm amazing or where I came from, I have 35 years and whatever firm, and who cares? No one cares. No one cares. And I'm buying you for your past experiences. I'm not discounting it as much. The point I want to make here is the headline is like the headline on a newspaper. It's quick. It's delivered. People spend their careers writing headlines for major newspapers around the world. It's really hard work. Yeah. How do you boil it down to a limited number of characters so you get the point across? It's hard. It's really hard.
Yes.
You get more time to talk below the headline about the other things you want them to know about. As I said earlier, the about section, you get a lot of space there to talk about the things that accentuate more detail to the headline. So they start at the top with the banner to the headline. There's the about section. It gives full sentences, I and verbs and all that good stuff, like you're talking to the reader, like the reader picked up the phone or walked into the elevator and said, hi. And you say, hi, and this is what I do. And then you get plenty of room. I know I'm going ahead of you here, but I want to make the point, and that is you get more room to talk about your past experience, starting with where you are now. And I have this image of time as a continuum on LinkedIn. Your past experience makes you who you are today, and who you are today indicates where you might go in not only your future, but your prospective client's future. Let's buy the whole package.
Yeah, I love that. Great. Yeah. So I want to talk about links next, because one of the things that I say to my clients, obviously I'm not a LinkedIn trainer, that's not what I do, but my client, because I'm a marketer, my clients often ask me, well, what should I do on LinkedIn? But it's not as I said, it's not what I teach necessarily. But a lot of the time I say to them, switch on creator mode, because creator mode gives you a link. Am I giving the right advice there?
You're exactly right. It gives you 5 major hashtags that anybody can follow and find you, in addition to the skills and hashtags you have in your profile. So you get 5 bonus hashtags, which are huge, because you don't know where people will look for you in the search. What words will they use for you? That's huge.
Yes. And I always say that people who are not using a link below your headline or whatever, they are missing out on an incredible opportunity. Would you agree with that?
If you're talking about links to your website, to your blog, to whatever you do, lots of internationally driven networking groups where I have a profile there where I say different things there than I say to LinkedIn. It's all in your contact details. You must fill out your contact details to the ultimate degree because it is your connectivity. If you don't have your cell phone number there, including your country code, people will not text you. If you
Good
don't have your
point.
email address there, they will not text you. Please don't give me your home address. I don't really want your home address there. Don't give me your birth date. I don't really care when your birthday is. I'm sorry if I sound callous. I'm not here to celebrate the personal stuff until we get to be friends. I'm here to do business with people I respect and understand.
Well, that's very interesting because sometimes I've noticed I've gone to somebody's contact details and I'm just amazed that there is no way I can get in touch with this person. They don't even have their email address. And
Right.
I find it very, very strange that people are actually there on LinkedIn, but you can't connect with them because they require an email address to connect.
And that's
And
true not only if you're an entrepreneur because you want people to contact you for whatever service or goods that you provide, but it's really true if you're a job seeker or maybe you're looking for an encore career or you're looking for something else. If you don't have either an email address or certainly a cell phone number there, recruiters will not mess with you. They're gone. They're going to go find the next candidate. You've
yeah.
lost that opportunity.
Okay, so we're beginning to build out a virtual profile, which sounds amazing. So fill out the contact details are very important. Okay,
Absolutely.
so what about the other features then in terms of your profile? So we've got the banner, the headline, the profile picture, the contact details, and the about section. What else do people have to fill in, or do they have to pay attention to? We mentioned the hashtags.
Hashtags. We have to also really look at our experience section.
Right.
Make people understand how you rose from when you first started working to where you are today.
Mm.
Don't tell me you saved the company $17 million in 1973. I don't really care. I can't conceive of what that amount of money was back then. That's so far. Tell me what percentage you shaved off of whatever it is, or whatever you were able to increase revenue by in terms of multiples. That's important. That
Yes.
tells me you're a mover and a shaker. But
Yeah.
don't tell me with details that no one cares about except you. It's an out-of-body experience because you're not hiring you. Someone else is hiring you.
Mm. Yeah. So stats and data, would you say they're important then?
Not that good, not that important. Just talk about the accomplishments.
Right.
Talk about what you did for the 15 years you worked at wherever. And if
Yeah.
you work someplace else for 5 years, what you say about in the 15-year job should be about 3 times as much as what you say in the 5-year job.
Yep.
I have people who worked for 20 years in a certain company right out of school, and that's all they talk about. And they rose to be EVP, SVP, whatever, managing director, and they don't talk a thing about what they're doing as managing director. It's stunning. But people don't give themselves permission to talk about what they accomplished. My God, we all sweated blood, sweat, and tears every day in the job. Talk about what you earned.
Okay. Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes people, I don't know about you, but I found that people are sometimes too modest about their accomplishments. We don't like, well, certainly we Brits don't like to brag, right? So we're very conscious of that. So sometimes we understate our successes and our achievements. Would you say that's a cultural thing? Do you think that applies to a lot of Americans as well?
I hate cultural stereotypes, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
I've met the most aggressive business people talking about themselves in countries you would never expect them to be aggressive that way. And there are a lot of Americans on my side of the pond who are completely self-immolating. They don't want to talk about what they did because we were taught as children by parents, teachers, clergy, sit there and be quiet and take it in. You know what? That doesn't get you anywhere as an entrepreneur.
No, doesn't, does it?
So the pivot here is talk about your profile. Say the very best thing you can do on your profile. The best pivot is post frequently material that you appreciate, that you learn that you want to share, that you know that other people need to know or feel, and that you want a call to action. Contact me for. If you agree with me, tell me. If you disagree, be professional about it.
Right.
It's so huge. It creates conversation. Ask people not to give you emojis and thumbs up and clapping hands about things that you've put in writing. Let's use language to comment back and forth, not hieroglyphics. We're past that. So I can write my heart out in a post, and I do multiple times a day. And if I know that it's a great post and I get a thumbs up, it tells me nothing about what spoke to the reader.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of lazy as well.
It's what I call a hit and run.
Yeah.
Bang,
Yeah.
and off they go.
Okay, so what I'd like to ask you about now is how can people's posts get more reach? Because this is something, again, that a lot of people complain about. It's like, I pour everything into these posts. I make them as good as they can be. I use all the features. I do things. I tried video. I've tried carousels. I've tried all of these things, and I'm still not getting the reach. What would be your response to that?
Okay. Do not be a slave to the algorithm. Leave the algorithm out of the estimation, the calculation. The algorithm changes multiple times a day, a week, a month. Stop trying to play that game. Forget the algorithm. Talk to your audience. Ask your audience what they want to hear. Ask your audience if they agree with you. Have a call to action in every single post. Tell me what you think. When they tell you what they think in real words, you then have the ability to refashion your way of thinking to what they want to know, and they will follow you. Another call to action, share this with your colleagues. What's beautiful about sharing is that, Jane, if I shared something to you, your connections will see everything I wrote to you. And my connections see everything I wrote to you. And everybody is served. And there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn. We're only touching a small percentage of those people. We're only talking to the people that understand branding, self-marketing, entrepreneurship. These are the things you talk about. These are the things I talk about. And we're back to what we were talking about before. Another great way to really get your voice out there is to be a top voice on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And to find the topics you want to talk about. LinkedIn has created an artificial intelligence-driven question program, so it asks open-ended questions. And human beings with real human experience, like you and me, can answer those questions. And I have people who now follow me on LinkedIn who I'll never understand why or how they found me, are finding me now through the top voice. And this questions like, how do you handle this? And I give real experience, and they tie into the experience.
Okay, so I know that we talked about this beforehand, because the top voice, you're seeing it more and more. People are very interested in that badge because obviously it is something that makes you stand out. So how long has LinkedIn been running this top voice feature?
I'm thinking it's about 3 months now, 4 months, and it's been brought out slowly through the way they do things, irregularly, probably. But you can give your opinion on top voice all day long. If no one likes it, you will not be a top voice. If you say something effective and interesting to them and they like it, and there's the only time I want to like, the only time I want a thumbs up is on a top voice answer that I give, then that gets you brownie points, shall we say, on LinkedIn. And the more you generate those likes, the faster you become a top voice. So you have to say something.
All right. So where do you go to do this?
You figure out what hashtag you like the most and go up to the search bar and type in my case, I put hashtag entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And there it was, hashtag training. There it was. And then once you start answering those questions, artificial intelligence will say, oh, well, he also talks about these sort of subtopics. So let's see if he wants to answer these questions. And it starts auto-generating. It's really interesting. The questions are all really good questions.
Okay.
The answers have to be better than the questions.
All right. So you type in like hashtag branding or something into the search bar, hashtag leadership or whatever it is that use your favorite topic. And then what will come up is some questions, and you answer the questions in the smartest way possible and in a way that demonstrates your enthusiasm, passion, and expertise. And you keep doing that. And then they'll throw more questions at you. And then eventually, hopefully, you'll get to top voice status. Is that the idea?
Well, yeah, it takes 3 really good hits for them to make you a top voice in that topic.
Yep. Okay.
And it's fine. It's great to have earned it, use the right verb for it, because I pour my heart out again in those answers. The question could be, if you're a speaker, how early do you get to the room to get a view of the room, and what do you do when you go there? It's a great question. And amongst speakers, we all have a different way of doing it.
And do you have the opportunity to set some of the questions yourself, or is it just, okay, fine. Okay.
It's all artificial intelligence driven. They are looking at conversations that are going on within LinkedIn to establish what are the things people want to know.
Okay.
That's my perception.
Very, very interesting. All right. Well, thank you. Okay. So I've got many more questions, as I'm sure many of my audience do about LinkedIn. So I publish a newsletter, and I'm not really sure how many people actually get to see it or read it. Do you think the newsletter is a good feature, and is it a good thing to do to have a newsletter?
Well, I have a newsletter myself, so I would say yes, of course it's a good idea to have a newsletter. My newsletter comes out every single business morning at 8 a.m.
Wow.
So I now have 2,500 posts to that newsletter under my belt over the many years. But what I do is I have LinkedIn post it for me. It comes right off of WordPress. It goes right into my LinkedIn. So everybody who follows me sees a post on my newsletter and my LinkedIn at 8 a.m. So that's a really great way to push out your newsletter, to make it show automatically.
Okay. Right. More questions. I hope you don't mind me firing them at you, but I'm just basically, I'm giving you all the questions that my group asked me. And I always say to them, look, I'm not a LinkedIn trainer, but I'll just tell you what I do. I'm pretty good on LinkedIn, but you're here really to kind of share your expertise on the things that I am not 100% sure about. Okay. So what is the most effective form of post? Video, poll, carousel, plain words without an image, or a nicer resting image? Should you have graphics in your image, typography, or should you have pictures of your face? Let's hear it. What are the best types of posts?
Let's work backwards. Stop using carousels. LinkedIn will no longer publish carousels.
Really?
Recently announced. They are tired of it. It's not, most people are putting out really ridiculous carousels.
Okay.
I see very little value. I know it costs a lot of money for people to design them for you. I know it's very painful. I've done them myself. I really haven't seen a lot of value for that.
Okay.
The answer I would give you, the best alternative method of putting out a post, is to determine what is the best graphic way to make the message resonate. So you can't say in words certain things you can say in pictures.
Yeah.
You can't say in pictures certain things you can say in words. When you combine the two with a picture that accentuates what you said in words, people may be more apt to read them. Don't be too long-winded in your posts. People don't have time for that. Video posts are good. A lot of my video friends say that's the only thing you can do, but they have a vested interest in only doing video. You need words in places where video doesn't make sense. Not everybody can open up a video on the train, for example, or in a bus. They rather read it on their cell phone in words. So find the right way to show the media that makes the most sense for what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Stop telling me about your sick child. Really, I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it. Stop telling me what you did on your summer vacation. We left that a long time ago in grade school. I see that all the time.
Yes.
But if you can take some of these topics and you can twist them into, and this is what I learned from this that I can apply into my business, then there's something to be gained there. That's a tough writing project.
Because it contains a lesson, and we're all thirsty, aren't we, for knowledge, and the right kind of information it's always like a gift, isn't it?
Right. And the very best way to give a gift is to tell a story.
Yeah.
Tell me a story about how you persevered and won the game, won the day, because you were challenged, you rose to the occasion,
Yeah.
you thought about it, you fought back, and you win. It's the oldest method of conveying knowledge in the world, and we still love it.
Yeah.
So there's a guy named Nathan Baugh from Texas who writes a blog post every Sunday morning, which I look for every Sunday morning. And a few weeks back, his blog post was 100 story archetypes through history that we still read today.
Ooh.
And it was wonderful. And I took 100 of his story archetypes and I gave it a LinkedIn twist on my blog to say, and in 25 increments, because obviously it'd be way too long. Here's the first 25 ideas for writing a post that will guarantee people want to know how the ending occurred if you get them invested in the beginning.
Yeah. So I just want to get back to this issue of sharing people's posts. So how much should we share? What should we share? What's the benefit of sharing? I mean, I tend to not really share a lot. Maybe I'm missing something, because obviously I am on LinkedIn. I see some really interesting posts, but there's also a part of me thinking, where people land on my profile, I don't want them just seeing a whole load of posts, other people's posts that I've shared. I want them to be able to consume my content. So maybe I don't share as much as I should. So I'm interested to know what you think about sharing. Is it a good thing to do? How much should you do it? Is there like an ideal ratio that for every 4 posts that you do, you should share somebody else's post, or is that all complete rubbish?
I don't adhere to any formulaic way of doing it. If I see something that I think you would like, Jane, I'm going to share it with you. But what I'm going to do is not just push it out to you and say, here, go figure it out. I'm going to tell you, hey, Jane, I saw this and I thought about you because we had a conversation back on December 7th and we covered this, that, or the other. So I give it context. I give it locus. Yeah. And I say, and we discussed this. And I think the author of this article is really getting to that point. Hopefully this will help you. Magic word. Hopefully this will help you.
Okay. So
you appreciate the fact that I thought about you.
Yeah. So you might send that in a message, but what about actually sharing to your feed?
Well, if I share it to my feed, I tell everybody who reads my feed why I consider what I'm sharing to be important.
Yep.
I digest it for them. I'm basically curating all the garbage material just down to the stuff that's important.
Yeah.
So I can send it individually. I can send it to a group of people. I can send it to everybody I'm connected to. I can send it to everybody on LinkedIn. You get to choose your audience.
Yep.
And that's really unique. That's really special.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, okay. So if you're sharing something that somebody else has written because you think it's relevant to your audience, is there any benefit in terms of following big influencers with, hundreds of thousands of people in their network and actually sharing their content? If it's good, obviously.
Selectively. There's a influencer named Seth Godin that I like very much.
Yeah, I like Seth Godin.
He's amazing. And I don't share everything he writes. He's brilliant. I've met him personally. I find his work to be excellent. He posts most mornings. Sometimes I think they're fantastic, so fantastic, I want to share. So I might say to my esteemed readership, Seth Godin came out with this morning, and it hits directly on something I posted about last week. And please read this and look at this in context. Adding my patina to what he has put out there.
Yeah, but it's also authority by association, isn't it? Because he's a very respected thought leader. So by sharing his stuff, then it, as you said, it gives you that little bit of gloss as well.
It shows that I'm reading up, shall we say?
Yeah, exactly.
And that I can share up, and everybody joins me in the upping of what we're doing, if that's such a verb.
Yeah.
But it's about, if you like the things I say and do, and I appeal to you, and I read something I think is really good, by association, you may just appreciate this even better, appreciate me even better, appreciate, in this case, Seth Godin a little bit better. I can't tell you how many people said, I read your post. I never heard of Seth Godin. Fantastic, and thank you for introducing me to him. Hey, I did a lot of value there.
Yes, definitely. Okay, well, that's all really, really valuable, interesting information. Okay, so what haven't we covered that is a topic that is frequently asked to you by your audience?
I get a lot of people at all stages of life who say to me, why does anybody care what I have to say? And that hurts me. That I really hate hearing that. And I try to answer it as honestly as I can. But I found, I'm going to give you another quote here from Marcus Aurelius. Really, Marcus Aurelius said this: look within the fountain of good. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you ever dig. So look within yourself and find that fountain of good that you want to share with other people, so that they recognize the value of what you're doing. You're not going to be overlooked. You're not going to be undervalued. You're not going to misstep and not step into power. You're going to be recognized and appreciated. You've shared knowledge. You've shared feelings. You've shared belief, and you've given them the opportunity to react to you by asking them to react. Find your bubble and make the fountain bubble. It's incredible when people give themselves permission to get out from under themselves and to give themselves the ability to express why they're here and why they do what they do, what they can come up with. It's cathartic. It's empowering. It's so huge. And people, age 50, I had a guy, he was age 73. He was still working, and he said, I hate my job, but I have so much to say. How do I do it? And I gave him a few tips, and he started doing it. The more you do it, like writing, as you know, the more you write, better you get at it. The more it's fun it is, the more easily it comes. It's all about giving yourself that permission.
Yeah. I love that. And really, I suppose at the heart of this is an attitude of giving, isn't it, really? Because if you go into these social environments, really, because that's what it is, with an attitude of take, then you're not going to come across as the kind of person that people want to get to know. And just to circle back to that first thing that you mentioned, that likability, you're not going to win the likes of others, really, the true likes.
That's true. 20 years ago, I joined a networking group in New York City, and it had two mantras. One was, it's better to give than receive. Now, I can't find anybody who disagrees with that. I mean, if they do, they better do it quietly, because that's really just not nice. And what goes around comes around. And that's the networking aspect of what makes LinkedIn 1 billion strong and such an amazing platform. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it easy to use? Absolutely not. But it gives you such latitude to talk about yourself in ways you never thought you ever would in a public environment. And once you give yourself that, okay, let's let it gush, people will tell you if you're on the right track or not.
Indeed, yes. Well, Marc, it's been such a pleasure to speak to you today. And Before we go, let me just ask you, obviously there's LinkedIn if people want to get in touch with you. Is that really the best way, or is there somewhere else they can find you as well?
Well, I don't just connect to anybody who comes across my LinkedIn profile. So if you'd like to look at my profile, it's linkedin.com/Marc Halpert, no W there, more MarcHalpert. You can come to my website and you can see all the posts that I've done on my blog and all the other stuff that I do. It's connect, the number 2, collaborate, connect2collaborate.com. And if you want to email me, Marc Halpert at connect2collaborate.com.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for all the valuable wisdom that you've shared with us today. It really has been such a pleasure. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing more of you on LinkedIn.